Somehow I've jacked up my orientation. So for some reason, let me see if I turn it. Oh, why is it locked? Hold on, guys. Cancel. Let me see if I can. Aha. There we go. I had to. Nope. That's not working either. Hi, everybody. If you're just hopping on, I'm just hopping on too. So hello, hello. Drop your questions, comments, things like that in the little comment thing or in the live chat, and I will answer them as we go along. Why is the orientation locked? Anybody who does lives, if you are a YouTuber and you're hopping on here, tell me what to do. I'm just trying to figure it out here. Give this video a like. Give it a thumbs up. Well, we might be SOL as far as changing the orientation of the live. Usually I do the other direction. Hello. Say hi. Hi, Hannah. Hello, Cindy. Good evening. Let me clear off my desk a little bit here of all this chaos. Hi, everybody. How's your week? Do you have a nice beverage to drink while we chat on this live? Howdy. I don't have a focus topic tonight. So if you have any questions, drop them down below in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. It can be about anything in the whole entire world. It can be about anything homemaking related. It can be anything else that you might be curious about or have questions about if you've been watching my videos on my channel. Anything that you guys, questions, I'd say criticisms, but maybe not those. Hi, Jill. Thank you for joining tonight. If you guys are hopping on here, hit the thumbs up button. And that lets more people know that we're here and that we're hanging out. And also, I can't figure out my screen orientation. I tried to flip it and my camera, for some reason, my settings will not let me flip. I don't know what I've done this time when I set this up. But if I try to turn it sideways, it says that it won't let me do it. And it's not my iPhone. So it's not my settings on my iPhone because I checked those. That was the first thing I checked was the settings on my phone. Hello, hello. I see 17 people have joined us so far. Leave a comment. Let us know where you are hanging out from. And if you want, you can tell us what's in your cup. What are you drinking tonight? I'm drinking my usual. This one is an echinacea blend tea in the tea bag. And it's delicious. It has like a cinnamon taste. It's from the Yogi brand. And my teas always have little inspirational things on them. And tonight it says, celebrate your successes and failures. Both require great courage. We might have had that one before on here. Hi, Kara. Oh, hi, Peter. Hi, Catherine. Hello. Hello again, Jill. Peter, you like the sourdough? I haven't been making a lot of sourdough. I've just been making my daily loaf bread for my family, for my kids. I made sourdough exclusively for about 7 years, and I was making 6 loaves, between 6 and 8 loaves a week, because I did them all at once. And I have all those bulk batch baking videos on my channel in my sourdough playlist. If you guys want to know how to make sourdough from the very beginning to make your own starter, all of that is included in my sourdough playlist, including how to make sourdough starter with raisins and a bunch of other stuff. So I used to bake 6 loaves, 6 to 8 loaves at once. I would sell some of them, and then the rest I would pre-slice, stick in a Ziploc bag, and I would pre-slice, stick in a Ziploc bag, and then freeze them. I suck all the air out of the bag so that it was just like a vacuum sealed Ziploc bag, and you can do that with a straw or just use your mouth and suck the air out of the bag. And then we had fresh sliced sourdough for the whole week or for the whole 2 weeks, depending on how much we used. We go through sourdough really quickly. The kids love, love, love it. So I need to make more. I need to get back in the habit. But one issue that I have with sourdough is the amount of washing and the stretch and folds, and it's hard on my hands and my eczema and things like that. So, and recently I was diagnosed with celiac, which explains my gut pain that I have, and I can no longer eat anything um, wheat, gluten, anything at all, not even like the tiniest bite. It's gotten bad. So I did order some einkorn from Azure Standard, and we're going to give that a try. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try a bite because I know a bite of normal grains, of normal wheat berries does affect me. Even my home milled breads, I cannot eat those any longer. So I tried some gluten-free. We made a gluten-free dessert last week, and that was terrible for me. That was not good for me. It tasted delicious, but the payment, the after effects of it were horrendous for me. The rest of the family did fine. I did not. All right. Do I clean my bathroom with gloves? Yes, I do. Well, not all the time. I should. I do have dish gloves, and I do try to protect my hands as well. I don't use any really harsh chemicals or anything like that. So let me scroll through these. Let me catch up. The sourdough. I miss sourdough so much. I'm gonna attempt a gluten-free sourdough here in the future, but straying from my carnivore-based or animal-based diet has not been very wise for me. So I primarily eat fruits, meat, and I have rice too. A lot of people on animal-based diets don't eat any kind of rice or anything like that, but I do fine with rice, so I eat it multiple times a day. Okay. Drinking iced tea from Michigan. Hi, Cindy and Kara. And I have got to get the seeds out. I did not make it to ship the seeds, so I will be shipping the seeds to last week's winner from the Survival Seeds contest. All right, let me go through these questions. Drinking decaf coffee in Louisiana. Ooh, I love, love, love coffee. I don't have any decaf, or I would be drinking it. I would probably drink coffee all day long if I had decaf. Let's see. Hi, just give us the recipe. Can't stay on long, but you will rewatch tomorrow. Thank you. I'm glad that you popped on and said hello. Kara's drinking coffee. Hello, hello. Jasmine is in Arkansas. Ginger lemon hot tea. That sounds really good. I'll put this fan down here. It gets noisy. All right, let's see. If you guys are hopping on, hit the thumbs up button, and that lets more people join us for this chat that we're having. Hello, Molly. Sleep Easy Tea. I love my sleepy time teas. I am a sleepy time tea, I wouldn't say addict, but I drink a cup every single night. I used to drink 2 cups, but now I drink like an immune boosting tea. And then after this tea, then I'll add a tea bag, a sleepy time tea to this and add more water, and just I keep the party going like that. Bear, you can't seem to keep your starters alive. Are you keeping them on the counter? Are you refrigerating them between your feeds in between uses? I noticed that I can't keep a starter alive if I try to feed it every single day and keep it on my counter. So I put it to bed in the refrigerator, and I can leave it in the refrigerator for a couple of months, depending on what flour I have fed my sourdough starter with. I will either have issues or I won't have issues. So I have learned that I have to stick to, I feed my sourdough starter with all-purpose flour, organic, unbleached all-purpose flour that I buy from the store, and that's what I feed my sourdough starter with. When I try to feed it with my fresh milled wheat berries, I run into problems of the weird growing stuff kind. So if any of you have figured that out, it seems that anytime I add fresh milled wheat berries to my, and you know what I think it is? It just dawned on me, because I think I've had this conversation with one of you all before. I think it could be that I'm not removing the bran, so I'm not sifting, and I probably need to sift and get rid of the bran from the from the flour after I mill it because I think I'm running into a problem with the bran. Now, I have fed my sourdough starters with rye and other things like that on occasion just to kind of like perk it up. But yeah, I just learned after so many years of experimenting how not to ruin my starter. So you can't keep your starters alive and you were keeping it on the counter and feeding it every day. If you do that and if you forget and you leave it and you don't feed it, you can kill it. So if you're not consistently doing it, if you get busy and you're not consistently feeding it every 12 or 24 hours, I think the most I've pushed it on the countertop is like 36 hours, but any more than that, you can kill it. It can die. It can starve to death, basically. So got to be mindful of that. But my routine was I take my starter out of the refrigerator. It's been in hibernation mode, so I take it out of the refrigerator and you can either immediately feed it and let it sit there for like 6 to 12 hours, probably 12 hours. And I just get it active again. And then, so I feed it. And then between 6 and 12 hours, I will use it to make a leaven. So I just feed it to make sure that it's doubling or that it's rising in the jar and to be sure that it's active enough. And if I need to, I'll do a couple of feeds over a couple of days. But I always remove it from the fridge. Sometimes it sits on my counter for a couple hours and it'll warm up and it will have hibernated in the midst of a feed and it'll start bubbling and get active again because it hasn't eaten all the flour in there. So sometimes if I just leave it there for a couple hours, it'll rise a little bit. Once it warms up to room temperature, it'll start to get active again. But usually what I end up doing is taking it out of the fridge at some point within a couple hours, feeding it, and then letting it sit, get active, and then I'll use it for a leaven. And when I make my leaven, I feed my sourdough starter again. I always make my leavens at night. So I make my leaven at night, feed my sourdough starter at night, let it go all night, and then first thing in the morning, I put my sourdough starter in the refrigerator, and then I use my leaven to make my dough for my bread. So I feed it at night, and usually that's like around, let's be honest here, it's usually like around between 7 and 9 o'clock at night, and my house is kept at about 67, 68 degrees. And I put it on top of where my dishwasher is because we run our dishwasher at night, and I set my sourdough starter jar there. And then, like I said, it just sits on the counter for the night and then it goes right into the refrigerator. I don't feed it again. I don't do anything else to it. I just pop it back in the refrigerator. Sometimes it'll be like it's still coming down from its feed, so it'll still be kind of active, but it goes dormant once it's in the refrigerator for a few hours. And then, it'll stay in the refrigerator indefinitely until I make sourdough starter again or until I need it again. And then I take it out, feed it, get it active, and then use it to make a leaven that night. So if I know I'm going to be using it, I try to take it out in the morning and feed it. And then so that it's ready for me it's active enough for me to make the leaven at night, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my routine with it. And I keep looking at it. Every time I open up my refrigerator, my sourdough starter is sitting there. It's just looking at me like, when are we going to do this, lady? And I look at it and I say, I'm just going to make yeast and bread today. I'm not going to get into all that. But I was very strict sourdough bread, made it all the time, took it to every single event that I went to, took it to friends, took it to new mamas with their new babies, as long as people weren't gluten free or, we always had sourdough going, always. But baby 5 came along and that sure changed a lot of what I do. Tammy's on here. You guys go follow Cluttered Mother Off Grid. You tried 3 times for a sourdough starter and killed them each time. Girl, I should have sent you sourdough starter in that care package. I should have. I need to dehydrate some and get it going like that. And I keep saying I'm going to do that too. I keep saying I'm going to dehydrate sourdough starter and, ship it, but I just haven't done that yet. Do I have a favorite beginner bread book? I do. I'm going to have to run to the kitchen, though, to get it because I got it from Margaret. Margaret is one of the subscribers on here, Margaret Norton, and she also gave me my grain mill and my first bucket of wheat berries. and she gave me a book. And I thought I had it in here because I was looking at recipes, but I might have put it back on the shelf. So I will run and grab that in just a second. And it's a very traditional, let me go grab it. Is that good? You want a cracker? All right, eat some in your dinner, and then you can have one of those. All right, sorry about that, folks. All right. So I've been reading this book. It's called Bread Revolution by Peter Reinhardt. So it goes through sprouted wheat, heirloom. It has a lot of recipes in it, a lot of really awesome recipes. So I've been looking at this, like, is there something in here that maybe I can eat? And it's a beautiful book. It's got pretty pictures in it, kind of moody, if you're into moody pictures. You know, it's got a good visual. So can you use soft white wheat berries for bread? I would not use soft white wheat berries for bread. Soft white wheat is for your cakes, your pancakes, your muffins, things like that. So for bread, you're going to want to use a hard red or a hard white because that's going to get your gluten formation. Those have a higher protein content, so they're going to be able to get that, you know, that stretchiness, that window pane. When you make bread, you want to be able to stretch your dough and see a window pane, get it nice and thin. That is gluten. That holds your bread together and tastes amazing. So yeah, this is a really cool book. Sprouted wheat or spelt quick bread. Gluten-free sprouted grain crackers. See, this is what I'm talking about. It has some things in here that I can use. A lot of sprouted breads and things like that. So I need to dive into this book a little bit more and see if there's something. I don't really have any bread cravings that much anymore, even though I can smell the bread that I just baked. Oh, shoot. I didn't take it out of the pan. Whoops. I had too many things going on when I was supposed to be getting on the live. I was serving the kids dinner. I was getting bread out of the bread machine. I was making my tea, and I just realized I left the bread in the pan, so it'll be fine till I get to it. You'd kill Tammy, you'd kill my sourdough starter too if I sent you some. It's okay. You've got enough going on. You don't need to make sourdough starter right now. Let's see. I'm going back through the questions. I have to back up. Judith, good question. Would any of my local politicians help speed up my husband through this medical taping your request for? Okay. With the military, we're lucky that we got this far with his medical evaluation board. We've been trying, I'll say when we lived in England about 9 years ago was when he first started having some of his first health problems. It might have been 10 years ago. He started having really explosive migraines, and they found cysts on his brain back here. And we knew the neurologist, and he was a military guy. We knew him. I was friends with his wife, and it was kind of like, we could med board you, or we can just kind of like sweep this under the rug. And Aaron wasn't ready for his career to be over, so they kind of swept it under the rug. And then we came here, and he just continued to have more and more health issues, more and more things come up, which we've been managing. And it got to a point in the last 2 years, for 2 years, they've been saying that they were going to start the med board process. And they kept losing his paperwork. They kept losing his medical records. And everything just kind of like, he would have appointments with base medical, and they would tell him things were going to happen. Nothing happened. He'd go back, say that they would tell him things were going to happen. Nothing happened. So that's been going on for well over 2 years now. And then eventually, like, the command got involved. So, like, we've had people involved, and now we're actually to the point that he is now, which is he just had his VA appointments. And it's a process. Everybody has to go through the same assembly line for all of this stuff. So there's nothing that we can do. And while he's home, that's kind of like the most ideal situation is that he's teleworking from home and everything is going fine now. We've just run into a snafu with he's got problems with both of his eyes. And because his medical evaluation board has started, he's not allowed to get his eyes fixed because then they can medically discharge him from the military for getting his eyes fixed without jumping through a million hoops to do it. So we're as educated as we can be for this process. We've researched as much as we possibly can for this whole process to make sure that we have the best outcome for him. And it's just unfortunate that there's no strings we can pull. There's nothing that we can do. I can't write letters to Congress or anybody like that. Currently, we're waiting on approval for his eye surgery that he needs because he has holes in his retinas, which have now turned to tears in his retinas because he has not had the surgery. So the holes turned into tears, and now he has got a cataract. So, yeah, his eyes are just getting worse while we wait for everything to happen, the paperwork to be routed, and apparently somebody at the Pentagon has to approve his eye surgery so that he can get eye surgery while he's in the medical evaluation board process. So, I don't want to bore everybody out with all that kind of stuff and with all of his health conditions because it's a lot. But currently, we're just managing things like as they pop up. So we had the bowel obstruction in January, then he's got his eyes all jacked up, and then now his hips and his osteoarthritis is through the roof and giving him so much trouble, in addition to like 20 other conditions. It's insane. So we just manage what's happening and what's ailing him at the moment, and that's all we can do. And we keep him home because him working on base was making everything 1,000 times worse. Everything. So now that he's home, he's doing better. He's not better, but he's able to do better at home full time and manage his teleworking when they need him to work. He's working by phone or he goes on base when he needs to, but he is home and everything's fine. We're just waiting on the test for his bowels and for the bowel obstruction, make sure there's nothing crazy going on in there. And all of his CMP exams are done. So now we just wait for his VA ratings. After they give his VA ratings, then he has to either accept them or deny them and fight them. It just depends on what they come back with. So we're just waiting on that. So we just have to go one step at a time. And there is a chronological order to everything, and we can't like bypass that at all. We can't bypass the path that is set forward in the medical evaluation board and the VA Veterans Affairs process. We're just kind of like, we're at their mercy, basically. And anybody, if you've ever gone through a medical evaluation board for an early retirement, feel free to pipe in. It is a very long, drawn out, painful, stressful process. Thank goodness that we're over the CMP exams because I'm telling you right now, that was like it's all been really stressful, very stressful, but we're past the CMP exams and it was like a weight lifted off our shoulders because in anticipation of those, you don't know what kind of doctor you're going to get. You don't know if it's somebody that's going to try to mess you over or tell you that like what you're going through isn't real and all that kind of stuff. So it's very psychologically stressful for the person going through it and for the caregiver just being a support to that person that's going through it has its own hurdles. Military wives, y'all are the real MVPs out there, ladies. Well, your husbands are, but it's a lot. And you know what? I should be like 20 minutes early for these lives, but I'm not. I'm not the service member. That's just an inside joke. I'm the one who's like, it's okay if we're 3 minutes late to a 3-year-old's birthday party. It's okay. Don't stress out. All right, let me go back up here. How often do you get called out when you get to called to be a doula? It just depends on how much I book myself. I haven't been booking myself for the last 6 months because of everything else going on. But I am always on call for postpartum support. So on call birth work is very demanding, and I have to have a babysitter lined up, or now that Aaron's around, he could do it, but you get called typically most babies, especially if they're my clients and they're going without inductions or anything like that. Their babies are going to most likely come in the middle of the night. They're going to go into labor sometime in the evening, and the baby's going to be born sometime between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. And so um, I've just taken a break from that, but I'm always on call for my postpartum clients because I work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's my window for on call birth work, postpartum work. So if I get a call at 8 p.m. that I have work, then I will meet up with that mom or with that family at 8 o'clock the next morning, typically. So that's how that works. And I love, love, love postpartum doula work because I do lactation help and support. I do placenta encapsulation. I do helping mama around the house. And that is something that I can schedule with the families, and I can schedule that around Aaron's stuff that he has going on, and that I can schedule around our life. And that works out really well for me. But if I have a mom that wants me to be a birth doula, I would definitely consider it. I'm just not putting those waves out there right now. I've been reeling back on the birth doula stuff because it's a lot. And when I was pregnant with my whole pregnancy, I worked with a midwife, and I was a midwife's assistant. And that was pretty awesome. And my shift was 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. So I would get called to a birth, do that all night till 5 a.m. because I was also the postpartum assistant. So when the midwife was all done with her portion, I stayed and did all the other postpartum stuff with the mom and stayed with the mom for a certain amount of hours and that sort of thing. And then at 5 a.m. someone else would come, and then I would drive home. Aaron would go to work, and then I would have the kids all day. And I would just lay low and take it easy and lay on the couch and like sleep like this, like snooze because I was so tired and so pregnant. And so I did that. I was actually my midwife's last client. So I was her assistant up until I was her very last person. She's no longer a midwife anymore. So yeah, I was definitely working like at 38 weeks pregnant. And then I think that was the last birth I did. And then she had to wait 5 more weeks, because Annika was born at 43 weeks. So she had to wait 5 more weeks after her last client for me to go into labor. So I was like, I'm just trying to keep you in midwife as long as possible. So that was really fun. That was a fun year. And I would definitely do that again, but right now is not the season for me to do on-call birth work. It's just not going to work out. I can't commit to clients. With Aaron's medical appointments being 3 hours away and 5 hours away and all over the place, it's just not in the cards for me to do on-call birth work because you're on call for about 37 weeks until they go into labor. It could be 42 weeks, could be 43 weeks, and you have to be available 24 hours a day. There's a contract signed, there's financial money involved, there's deposits involved, and you have to be committed to it, and I'm just not. So yeah, postpartum work. All right, done talking about doula stuff. Blue Sue. Do you sift after grinding to get more traditional white flour? Yes, if you want the all-purpose flour, then you would definitely, and I think with all-purpose, someone else correct me if I'm wrong. I think with all-purpose flour, you're using soft white wheat. Oh, and I also must say, one of you all was asking if you could use soft white wheat berries. I will say, I do use half all-purpose flour and half bread flour when I make my daily loaf of bread. I just like that, so that's what I do. I do mix them. Thank you, Kim. Grass green. You killed it. Hey, from the UK, Punky Fish. It's 1 a.m. there. Girl, what you doing up this late? Well, I don't know if you're a girl. I'm just assuming Punky Fish, 1977. You have a lot of dietary issues and problems keeping your weight stable, keeps dropping too low. Same boat, same boat. High in good fats and good calories to help gain weight. If I knew the answer to that, I think we just have to eat a lot more than our bodies want us to. And I can't force myself to eat any more than I am hungry. I eat a really huge breakfast in the morning, and that carries me through most of the day. And then I eat fruit all day, and then I eat my dinner. I eat my dinner too late at night. I will say that. So after I get off this live is when I eat my dinner. So I eat really late at night. I eat early in the morning. I guess my fasting window is totally opposite of what it should be because I eat early in the morning and I eat late at night. Oh, wait, I take that back. I don't eat early in the morning. I don't eat until usually around 11 in the morning. And then I'll eat again around 7 or 8 at night. So I think it's really hard. And I'm going to talk to a dietitian on Thursday just because I want to hear what they have to say. Not because I think they're going to be able to help me very much because I'm so limited. I mean, there's very few things I can eat. So I'm not sure what they're going to say. But I'm not sure if they're going to agree with how I eat now. But it works for me, and I'm in way less pain than I normally am. And for those of you that don't know, I was really hard on my body in my early years. I snowboarded, I ran long distance, like cross country and trail running, very long distances. And then I raced motocross in my early 20s for about 5 years, and I crashed a lot and had I never broke anything, but I have torn stuff in my shoulder that's still torn and hurt myself a lot. And so when I eat certain foods, I get massive inflammation and pain. And so it's not worth it for me to eat certain things because it'll make my back hurt really bad. I have herniated discs in my back. I have degenerative disc disease. I've got disc problems in my neck. So when I eat certain foods, I get terrible inflammation and pain. And it's not worth it because I can't hardly walk. I get sciatica really bad. I get my shoulder, it's moving. I can move it today. There's days when I eat terribly that I have such bad bursitis and swelling and pain in my shoulder that I just have to like hold it like this all the time. And that's not fun. Or I'll like stuff it into my bra strap and hang like this. And that's how I support my shoulder. I can't like reach up high and do things like this with this arm or reach behind me like this with this arm because I pile drove it into a jump. I like jumped and I pile drove myself into the landing off a dirt bike. So yeah, gotta be careful. I also have celiac, Hashimoto's, and supposedly scleroderma, but I don't believe that one. I'm in denial, basically. Denial. They say once you get one autoimmune disease, and if you can't cure it, which I haven't been able to with all my natural stuff and my diet, they say if you get one that you're gonna continue to get them. I don't know. Denial's a river in Egypt. Okay, how often do I get called? I answered that one. On the counter. Hi, Tammy. Do I have a favorite beginner bread book? I shared that with you. Punky Fish, if you're still on here, where are you from in the UK? We have been as far north as Yorkshire Dales area. We explored up there. And then we went all the way down like to Cardiff and all those places. But we lived in Suffolk. Specifically, we lived in West Row, and we lived in Lakenheath, and we lived in Bury St. Edmunds. We lived there for 4 years, and we moved 3 times. Not my choice. A tree fell on our house, and we had to move out of our river house. We lived on the river. I can't remember what river it was, but it was in West Row, and houseboats. I mean, I'm talking 20 yards from our front door, we had houseboats go by, and it was really, 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 really cool. They're really long, narrow boats to go down the canals and the fens. Correct? Tell me. Why am I saying the fens? Live near all that. You guys hit the thumbs up. That lets more people who are subscribed to the channel see that we have a live so that they can hop on here and hang out with us too. Can I use, all right, I think I answered Carl. Can you use soft white wheat berries for bread? You can. It's just going to be more crumbly. You're not going to get that chewy texture. Go get it out. We can wait. Oh yeah, that was when I got the book. Tammy, you jumped on when I started talking about straining red wheat. Yeah. If you get soft white, so you have red wheat, that's going to take, all right, that's going to take some adjusting. If you have hard red wheat and you're wanting to use that for bread and introduce your family to fresh milled bread, you're probably going to want to mix it half with all-purpose flour or with a soft white wheat. A hard white wheat. And you can also buy hard white wheat berries, which are going to make it less brown, make the bread less brown, if that makes sense. So you're going to, and then with the hard white wheat, if you sift it, you can sift out some of that some of the bran from it, and then you're going to get it closer to a all-purpose flour or a white bread. Not all-purpose flour, because I believe that's made with soft white wheat berries. But if you can sift and I don't know, Tammy, you'll have to tell me. I don't think I sent you any. I could probably send you in the next box some hard white wheat berries. My brain is trying to keep up with all the different types of wheat berries that there are. Okay. Do they call any spots in his brain white matter? No, he doesn't have any visible, actually, he has an MRI coming up. I don't think it's of his head though, but no, they haven't called anything in his brain white matter. He just has what they called cysts. And I can't think of the word, what type of cysts they are. There's a special word for it though. Have I ever considered homeschooling my kids? Yes. And I have homeschooled my kids, and Aaron and I have been talking about it in great detail. Well, we've been talking about it this whole year. Like, we need to bring the kids back home and homeschool them again. I had big struggles because we are a military family and we don't have any support system here. And I was really struggling to wear all the hats. And at that time, Aaron was working. He was gone out of the house before we ever woke up, and he was getting home after or at bedtime. And I was at my wit's end. And sadly, and it makes me sad, the only thing that I could do was, the only kind of support I could get was sending my kids to public school, because I had postpartum depression, I had postpartum anxiety, I was really big time struggling. I also have some traumatic childhood history that I won't go into details about, but some bad things happened to me when I was a kid, which I have some PTSD from, and I have lots of triggers, and I was struggling to be alone with my children all the time. I was really struggling. And so the only option, and I agonized over it, and I still do to this day, I'm still having a difficult time with them being in school for a variety of reasons. But we don't think we're sending them back to school next year. And I know someone else is going to say, you keep taking your kids in and out of school, in and out of school. Well, it hasn't affected them negatively at all. We homeschooled for most of their education. Only in the last was it last year? I think they've only been in for this full year and half of last year. I think after Christmas, and when they started lifting all the mask mandates and things like that, was when I put them into school. So yes, homeschooling is on the horizon. And we keep saying, we're just going to get over this hump. We're just going to get over this hump. And we didn't want to pull them out now. Like, now spring break's coming up, and Aaron and I were talking about this morning. We're like, should we just pull them from spring break for the rest of the year? Because we're going to be doing some traveling again. And the state only allows you to miss so many days of school. And then they shame on you. You missed more than 10 days of school. And so we're coming up close on that because we've pulled them from school to go to Aaron's medical appointments. They've had illnesses and different things like that. So, homeschooling, yes. Yes. It's coming up in the future. We're just not sure if it's going to happen sooner or later. So, but that is the ultimate plan, is to homeschool. And plus we have the move, like if and when we move. That's a whole nother thing. So we're at the military's mercy right now. Some of y'all know that. I keep talking about the big move. We're planning to move back southeast in the States, assuming that the market holds out and we can sell this house and at least break even. But if the market crashes and we're upside down in this house, then we might end up just staying here longer or trying to figure that out. So that's a whole nother thing. Punky Fish, you live on the seafront. Which seafront? Hold on. Somerset. From the Midlands. Somerset sounds very familiar. Peter, you're from England. You're in England too. Oh, I love. I'm gonna butcher it. Black sausage. Is it black sausage? What's the breakfast sausage? I want to say it's blood sausage. What is the correct word for it? I'm blanking on it, but I love English breakfast, and I like the huge English breakfast that you guys do with the sausages, with the black, is it called black pudding? Tell me what it is. That stuff's amazing. I love it. I was such a foodie when we lived over in England. We tried everything. It was all delicious. But I really, really like that. I love clotted cream on scones. Oh my goodness. That stuff is so good. But I can't have dairy anymore. I enjoyed it while we lived there. It's just delicious. Yeah, the canal boats are fantastic. Those things are so cool. We would sit out there on the weekends, and we had so many fruit trees on that property. So many. It used to be the property we lived on, they used to have greenhouses. So we had to be very careful and wear shoes because there was so much broken glass around there. But they had greenhouses, and they had tons and tons of fruit trees and elderberry bushes and briar bushes, like with blackberries, and oh my goodness. England is amazing for all of that. So we had, that was when I first started canning, and I was canning loads of applesauce and plum preserves and just so many different things there. That was when I learned all kinds of stuff. Homeschooling is the hardest job, Francis. Yes, it is. It is very hard. And I think when I really started working a whole lot more, just the workload and Aaron being gone all the time, and he was doing TDYs and different things like that, which meant he was going out of town. He also plays golf professionally, so he was doing golf tournaments, and that took him out of town a lot. And so it was a lot. Grace. Homeschooling is hard. Thank you, C. You've got a green and it says C. Yes, strength and discernment for next school year. And I won't go into details about some of the stuff that's happening at our school. We thought it was a more conservative school, and it was small in the community out here, but the school is very hesitant. They do not want to send home any curriculum. They don't want to send anything home. So even when our kids were behind, one of our children struggles, and when he was behind, they would not send his schoolwork home until we demanded that they send it home. They were like, we don't do homework, we don't send any curriculum home. And then when we go there for parent-teacher conferences and book fairs and stuff like that, we go into the library, and all of the bookshelves are covered, so we cannot see the books that they are allowing our children to read. I mean, we see what our children check out and bring home, but I just think it's interesting how the school hides their curriculum, and they hide what's in their library, and some of the questionable people that are at the school, which my husband's made formal complaint about, and they are no longer involved with our children. But yeah, There's just stuff going on in the public school system that we don't agree with, but we also didn't want to take our kids out of school midway through the year. We probably should. We just need to do it, right? But I wanted them to finish out the school year this year. They love their friends at their school and they're sweet and innocent little kids. But you start to question if they're not going to send home curriculum, if they're not going to send home makeup work, we have to demand it. And then we've had a few other things that make us go, we wish we could afford private school, because I don't feel like I have the patience and brain power to be a homeschool teaching mama with everything else going on right now. I just struggle, struggle, struggle. And Tammy, Cluttered Mother Off Grid, you actually have a really awesome homeschool program there where you live, that the kids are able to have like an online school where they actually interact with teachers in their classroom, but they do it all virtually. We don't have that option here. So I wish we did, but we don't. We do have an excellent public homeschooling system where you can homeschool your kids and they provide curriculum as long as it's non-religious curriculum. And then they have like a wide variety of curriculums for you to choose from, and the state pays for it. And we've utilized that in the past when we homeschooled, and I thought it was a really great program, and it gave us so many different options for educating our kids. But again, it had to be non-religious curriculums. So if there was something that we wanted to teach our kids, or we wanted the state to cover, we would have to submit for that and they would have to approve it. But they provided enough variety of curriculums that we had an amazing choice, and we went with the Timberdoodle. The Timberdoodle curriculum is, if you have kids that are super science, technology, engineering, mathematics minded and brained, just boys in general, a lot of times, because my boys thrived on Timberdoodle. They had so much STEM, so much. And the kits came with different kinds of building sets and really awesome science kits. And we had a lot of fun with the Timberdoodle curriculum. And then for my daughters, I probably would have chose something different, but we did Timberdoodle with them as well. And they enjoyed it. I just think that they probably would have enjoyed a lot more of like reading curriculum, or my oldest daughter probably would have enjoyed, what's the Mason? Sorry, you guys, I have terrible brain fog and I can't think. Charlotte Mason, I think, was an option too. And that one has like a whole lot of reading, and I didn't think that my boys were going to be cool with that. So, but like I said, they had about 5 or 6 different homeschool curriculums through Oregon that you could choose. And then the only requirement was that you go to the homeschooling office, homeschooling teacher once a week for like a half hour or an hour. You just take your kid in there and they can do like an arts and a craft. And that was it. We just went there once a week and did that. And that worked out until I had a whole bunch of kids. And then I stopped doing that. And then we started doing brain fog is so bad. What is the one that's really, really pretty? I can't think of what it is, but we switched to the really, it became like really popular more recently. And I'm totally glitching on it, but we did that for last year. I can't think of what it's called. Sorry, guys. I'm terrible at that. Okay. Yes, Francis, have to do what's best for my family. Only I know, or only we know what's best. We feel like our kids are in a safe place. We just are just trying to figure out, what are they teaching our kids? Because they're not sending home the curriculum at all, and they're hiding it when we go there for meetings and things like that. They hide the library books and things. So Is there a reason that they're not sending home curriculum? Is there a reason why they cover up the library books with large posters and big rolls of paper? I don't know. I'm sure there is. Ooh, strawberry jam. Yum, yum, yum. We are running out of our strawberry Marionberry, whatever it was I made last year. I try to make preserves and jams and jellies. I make a really good elderberry jelly. I've always been successful at that. And I guess with the strawberries, I didn't strain out any of the stuff. So, what is that, a preserve or a jam? Ooh, am I gardening this season? Yes, I am going to attempt to garden this year. I'm going to start a garden, and then if we do pick up and move and sell, then it'll bless the next homeowners, hopefully. Erica, are they allowed to hide that stuff legally? They do. Maybe it's just to keep us focused on the book fair, so they don't want the library books getting mixed up with the book fair, but your guess is as good as mine. It's just, I'm sure if you push hard enough, like we had to push pretty hard to get our children's makeup schoolwork sent home, and that took multiple phone calls and emails to get that stuff because we don't want our kids to fall behind. So when we ran into one of our children falling behind in his schoolwork because he just flat out, if he doesn't want to do it, if it's not interesting to him, he's just not going to do it. And we're working through that, and now we've got motivation set in place, so now he's actually motivated to do his work at school. So we figured that part out, and I was having the same problem at home. I just had one kid homeschooling. When I homeschooled my 3 oldest kids, I had one that was very resistant to doing anything, didn't want to do anything, and I was working with the other 2, and oftentimes they were able to do their own stuff by themselves, but I was spending hours upon hours trying to get one kid to do something, and it was taking away from everything else, and I had a really hard time with it. And then same thing happened when he went into school, but now we've figured out motivation and ways to motivate him to complete his schoolwork at school. And when he doesn't complete at school, we have the teacher send home, and we're very adamant about that. If he doesn't finish it in class, send it home with him. You have to. And there was a lot of resistance with that. And it was like, oh, we just don't send home homework. Okay, well, my child's falling behind, so you need to send home this homework because we're going to catch him back up. We're going to help him, and we want to understand what he's doing, and we want to help him understand what he's doing. We want him to learn, and he's not learning because he's just getting skipped over. And sorry about that. And so, yeah, that took a whole lot of, Aaron was involved with that, thankfully, because he's a little bit more pushy and straightforward. And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to ask. Like, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I just wanted my kids' schoolwork to come home so we could work on it. And that's me. And then Aaron is like the assertive, he's the more assertive one of us. So once he was involved, we got the schoolwork sent home. And now every day, he is able to bring home stuff that he needs to finish up. The good and the beautiful. Thank you, Francis. In my head, I was picturing rainbows, and I could not. I was like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yes, the good and beautiful. Love that curriculum. Love it. And it is. It's beautiful curriculum. And it's engaging and it's awesome. Amy Marion has YouTube lesson. Ooh, cool. Carol, not all schools are like that. Thank you. It might just be Oregon schools, possibly, because we are in the state of Oregon. School is not the teachers' boards. The big guys seriously want to program our children and make them weak sheep. We got to protect our babies. Yes, Tammy. Yes, yes. No, not all schools are like that. I don't know if it's just our school's policy that they don't wanna send home homework because they don't want the kids to be all day at school, and then, if this is their logic. I mean, this is what they told us. We don't want the kids to have to do homework when they get home. We want them to spend time with their families. We want them to read. That's what they always told us. We don't want them to come home and do schoolwork. We want them to hang out with families. So, which we understand that too, but part of us being together is helping our children with their schoolwork. Sounds a lot like the movie Matilda. I need to brush up on that. I haven't watched that since I was little. Have I ever seen someone about my childhood? Found psychologists gave me some good coping techniques. I need to. I need to. That would be part of my self-care is to go get some therapy, right? It would be really good. I've been encouraged to go to therapy. Yes. I need better coping skills. I think I'm coping pretty good, and I'm doing a lot better with Aaron around. Aaron has helped me so much, just his presence. When I was alone with all my kids all the time, and like the crying and the needs and the sensory overload and the fighting and the like all of that stuff, it can make any sane person start to lose it when you don't have somebody that you can call and help you. Um, and I was struggling because I was always breastfeeding a baby. I was always, like, trapped under a baby, nap trapped and all that kinda stuff, and trying to do things from the chair and trying to manage, um, behaviors and all that kinda stuff. I just got really overwhelmed, and I struggled a lot with all of that. But now that Aaron's home, we both share the load, and I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders as far as that goes. I don't feel like I'm the only one who 5 children are relying on for everything. And my bigger kids are a little bit bigger, so that's helpful too. But I think when they were young, I mean, still, being a mom's hard, isn't it? They didn't even allow you all to attend the book fair for your kids in Arkansas, Tristan? What? I will say, I was not happy with the selection of books at the book fair. Garbage. Well, I mean, just garbage. Nothing that was really of intellectual value. Like, where's the intellectual value in the schools these days? There's like lacking big time. Not that elementary school kids need intellectual value, but I don't really consider SpongeBob and graphic comics the best thing to learn. Although my kids are interested in graphic comics and they love to read those types of things, but yeah, I wish that they had. I wish that they would funnel them less entertainment and more. I don't know what the word is. I'm just not a SpongeBob fan. Sorry. Maybe there's something there that I'm missing. There was a teacher at a school here in Florida who took kids to an LGBT bar and grill for a field trip. How is that happening in Florida? How's that happening anywhere? How does that even get approved? Who's funding that? Vicky, you teach 1 to 3rd and send homework. Good for you. I think parents should be involved and we should be able to at least know what our kids are learning and we should be able to help our kids if they're struggling. As a teacher with that many students in a classroom, it's I don't see how one person can give all those kids the amount of attention and explanation that they need with their math or with their English or with their writing and all of that. And I feel like it's easy for kids just to get left behind, and especially the kids that are resistant to doing anything. Like I have one of those. I also have a kid that's a total opposite end of the spectrum that wants to do everything and doesn't, wants to get there early and help the teacher out with all this kind of stuff. And then I have the other end where it's just like he just wants to play and break stuff. And and then we've got one in the middle who's just like happy go lucky and goes along with it. But it's hard for teachers, I can imagine, with that many students in a room to be able to give the kids focus and attention that need it. Um, So that's been kind of where we need to fill in the blanks. We need to know if our kid is struggling. And we had no idea that there was a struggle at all until parent teacher conferences. So, like, a whole 6 weeks went by and there was nothing, no communication that there was a problem at all, until parent teacher conferences. And then it was like, this amount of work has not been done. And we're like, what? What? How? How has this not been done? How come there wasn't a hey, parents of so and so, your child's not doing their work in class? And then we would have been proactive, but we didn't even know that there was a problem. We probably should have been proactive before that. But when we talk to our kids when they get home from school, everything's going great. They're getting all their stuff done, and that's what we hear. So that's what we think. But yeah, it wasn't until parent teacher conferences, and then we were smacked in the face with none of this stuff got done. And we're like, oh. I mean, that was happening at home too with homeschool, but so Aaron has he was going to school for early childhood development education, to be a teacher originally. So he's really good and has great um, skills for that. Much better than I do. He has a little bit more patience when it comes to instruction and teaching. Yeah, I love teachers for doing the job that they do. It is not an easy job at all. What a struggle to try to get that many students on the same page. I just can't even imagine. So I don't ever knock down teachers. I just wonder why the whole we're not going to send anything home thing. Like, at least, I don't know. Especially if a kid needs extra help and the parents are willing to help. In Florida, if you didn't pass the FCAT, you failed for the year. Erica, was that like every single grade? Is that like the standards of learning test? What do they call SOLs? Is the FCAT like the SOLs? Because the thing that we ran into here was this elementary school is like one of the top rated elementary schools in academic excellence for public schools in Oregon. And in order for them to keep that, the children that are subpar, they have to deem them special education, and they have to go through and have the evaluation process. And then basically what they do is they say, this child's not able to do this level of schoolwork, so they remove them from any of the testing. And so if you do that to all of the children who are struggling and you remove them from the testing, then your test scores stay up here, and then you're number one because you've taken all the other kids and gone, oh, they're all special education over here and they don't need to be tested. That's what we ran into. And then it turned out that our child isn't special needs, and all he needed was a little bit more attention. And he's all caught up and he understands everything. And now he's doing stuff in work because he's got incentive and he's got motivation, and there's something he really wants. And if he does well, he can earn that. So he's got to do well. He's got to try. He has to do his schoolwork at school and bring it home if you don't understand it, and we'll help. Your 12-year-old daughter was bullied and bullying. Yeah, it's not. Vicky asking if I would ever homeschool. Vicky, we did homeschool, and we put our kids into school a year and a half ago. And we want to homeschool them again. We're just trying to get through all this stuff with Aaron's medical board and taking care of him and everything that he has going on. And then we plan, I don't, I don't, I don't want to say that we're putting them into school next year, and I don't want to say that we're homeschooling them next year. I don't want to commit to either one of those right now. We barely sent them back to school after Christmas break, and now we're like, ugh, spring break, let's just keep them home because we're going on trips and doing fun stuff, and we want to go out in nature and do all the things that they go to school until June, mid-June. They're in school, I think. Yeah, they have a long school year. But yeah, homeschool. I admire anybody who can homeschool their children, and I know that we can. I just need some support either from Aaron or I need to hire a babysitter so I can get a break every now and then. Yeah, the bullying here at a few of the public schools has been like a significant problem. I think there was um, a very tragic event that happened a few years back. And then even in the last year, there was a really bad situation that happened at the high school with the high school students, but it was not a school related event, but it was like a travel team event, and very horrendous things happened to a student. And there were no reprimands for any of the people involved. Like nothing happened, even though it was during a school year, but it was not a school related event. Horrendous, horrendous, horrendous things happened. And then because one of the ringleaders in the group was their father was on the school board, nothing was going to happen to him. And so there was a huge uproar in the community, big time. There was protests, there was a lot of stuff. So bullying is definitely, my oldest son there's somebody at his school that bullies him. And yeah, it's just not, there's how they deal with the bullies too. I don't agree with either. I don't think, I mean, but what do you do? I don't know what you do. There's a child at our school that bullies a lot of kids, and we went to a school picnic. And that child was sequestered to one little square, one little space on the playground. Aaron and I weren't familiar that this was the kid that was having the problems at the school, and we were playing with a bunch of kids. We were playing ball, and we invited this child to play with us. And he said, "I can't, I have to stay in this little square." And our hearts broke because here we want to like interact with this kid. We want to include them and play with all the other children that we're playing with, and we're trying to include him in his little area, but he's not allowed to leave it, and it just like broke our hearts. But you have to have consequences when you do things. It just, I don't know. We just felt like he needed more attention, more engagement, more, he needed to feel good about himself. Maybe he's bullying because he feels terrible about himself. Maybe his family life is horrible, and you think about those things when you encounter bullies, especially in elementary school. Like, what are they encountering at home that is making them act like this? Really, really heartbreaking, heartbreaking stuff. And I was going to go into child psychology. I just don't think I couldn't handle it. So I stopped that course after my second year in college, decided that I did not have the mental capacity with my own stuff going on, because my heart just breaks too much. And I would just be a huge mess. I can't separate myself from that stuff like some people can. Teachers, how they separate themselves from what they experience as teachers and what they know children are going through at their homes. And you're like a reporter. You have to report those things because you're a mandated reporter. But I mean, things don't get taken care of. And oh my gosh, it's just so much, you guys. I don't even know. I can't even go down that road because it just breaks my heart. It's awful. I'm not laughing. I'm like, how do I menu plan multiple dietary menus? It feels overwhelming when I try. You know what? I don't menu plan ever at all. I have tried to have meal plans. I've tried for this channel to have meal plans, and I can't do it because every day for me is different. Every day looks different. How I feel every day is different. And what I'm going to cook for dinner is, as much as I do what I'm going to cook for dinner. And that is, we don't know what's for dinner tonight. So today I picked the kids up from school and we got home, and Aaron had a golf lesson. He coaches and helps out and teaches golf. So he was doing a golf lesson, and I had to get dinner made for the kids before this, and I had to pick Riker up from chess club. And so I was like, what do I have? And I was like, oh, I've got the turkey sausage in the drawer. Okay, I can make some kind of jambalaya. And then, Hagen, run out to the freezer and see if you can find a bag of veggies. And she ran out to the freezer. Whatever bag of veggies she brought in was my inspiration, and it worked out. I'm going to share it with you guys in an upcoming vlog what I made. But I just ended up throwing everything into an Instant Pot with a can of, what are those tomatoes? People use them in dips. They use the can of tomatoes. Rotel. So I did the mixed veggies, rotel, a jar of bone broth, 3 cups of rice, and that turkey sausage cut up, but Hagen can't eat that. So Erin was gonna make her something else for dinner. And I just threw it all in the Instant Pot, and that's what we had for, oh, I put poultry seasoning in it, and garlic powder, and onion powder. And I tasted it before I came in here, and it's really good. So that's how I menu plan. I'm one of those fly by the seat of my pants, because if I take the time to write a meal plan and I don't stick to it, then I beat myself up for wasting my time writing the meal plan to begin with. Katie, why did you do that? You didn't even use it. So, so my plan is not to have a plan. And so I do go and yesterday I grabbed out a whole chicken from the freezer, and I grabbed out 2 packages of beef stew meat. So my plan is to make the chicken and to make the stew meat, and then I'll probably make rice as a side because it's safe for everybody. Everybody can eat rice around here. Aaron doesn't eat rice. He's very strict carnivore, animal-based diet. He does meat, fruit, like dairy and organ meat. So animal products and fruit is what Aaron eats. And then I have the same thing, but then I have rice because I have to have carbs. I mean, I know fruit's carbs too. Somebody would argue that it's not, but that's just what I eat. And then the kids can almost have anything. And Hagen, I'm transitioning to only making the kids meals that Hagen can also eat. And then if one of the kids wants what Aaron and I are having, they're welcome to have what we're having. We just mostly have ground beef, ground elk, ground deer. We have eggs. Aaron eats cheese and different things like that. I do goat's cheese sometimes. And so if the kids want to have like our basic, we eat the same 2 to 3 meals a day every day. The same stuff. And I share some of that with you guys, but man, it's redundant around here lately. It used to be fun when I made all sorts of things, but now I feel like we're just on repeat. We're repeat everything. Because right now we're just trying to eat what's safe. What was it that Hagen had last week? Okay, that's what it was. We experimented. We're like, all right, Hagen, last time that we eliminated all this stuff from your diet, you could still eat mammal meat, and it didn't affect her. So even though she had the 96 panel done and it showed intolerance to all mammal meats, she was able to tolerate mammal meats back then, up until like a month ago, 2 months ago, whenever it was. So we're like, all right, let's experiment. You can try like a little bit of beef. And what do you know, within 30 minutes, she started breaking out in hives. We treated her. She can't have beef. I don't know if we've tried, and that was a local grass-fed, grass-finished, all that stuff beef. I don't think she's had any reactions to elk or deer. But then again, I'm not sure that we've ventured down that road. I'm trying to think. I've made some deer stew and stuff in the past, and she's had like the potatoes out of it, and that didn't affect her. So right now it's just kind of like trying to figure out what she actually really is intolerant to, because we still haven't gotten into the allergist. We're just going off that 96 blood panel that they did. So yeah. And let's see. Tammy, you're right. A lot of people that bully, they don't grow out of it, and they just grow into adults that bully, and then they bully their children, and it's just a vicious, vicious cycle. And a person has to make a conscious decision to not be that way and work on themselves every day to not be that way. Mm, 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 mm. There was a lot of violence at your school. We used to have plastic trays, but someone got beaten with a plastic tray in your first week, so then you had to use styrofoam. Is that why they're using styrofoam trays at the schools? Because I think they use them at our elementary school too. I think. At least they did the one time I had lunch there. That could have just been that day. May have black. Susan may have blackberry. What's that? You went to the best school in Tri-County area. The other schools had shootings and gang stabbings. Yikes. When you have a stock pantry, it lets you make a quick meal and have things on hand without a formal plan. Yes, that is true, Allison. That is true. I've worked really hard we didn't always have a pantry this stocked. I've worked really, really hard in the last 2 years stocking my pantry and making sure that we had a variety of things on hand. Um, and that takes adding a little bit every month where we could. We were just adding food onto the grocery hauls, a little bit here and there every month, and it added up. It added up. So now I call it my delayed pantry challenge because we had all that craziness the last couple months and I bought more stuff from the store than I wanted to, but we have hunkered down big time. Um, and we've been doing smaller grocery hauls just to get like fresh produce and things like that. Because with 7 people and the amount of produce we eat, it's insane. Um, we could probably eat triple produce than what we get, but um, it has definitely allowed me to just be able to pull stuff off the shelf or out of the freezer without a plan. I think I admire the people that meal plan. I might have too much ADHD or ADD to be able to meal plan and stick with it. I think that's why I do better with flying by the seat of my pants because it is meal planning, being able to like think all that out. But I have some great books that help me, and I share that with you guys a lot. I've got some good books, and um, yes, we get the workbooks. Susan, we get the workbooks from the Dollar Tree for my preschoolers. Yes, they do. They have awesome, awesome, awesome books there. Yes, the books from Walmart. Although I prefer Dollar Tree more because they're less expensive. Michelle Silva, you asked, could I do a bread video with all kinds of wars? Do you mean wheat berries? Can I do a bread video with all kinds of WARS? I'm not sure. I think that was an autocorrect because I experienced that too. My autocorrects to the craziest stuff and I don't proofread. So if you guys catch my comments, sometimes my comments, I'll post them and then I have to go back and edit them because I don't catch the autocorrect. And autocorrect can be so mean sometimes. They put in the craziest stuff for autocorrect. You try to write something out and your phone doesn't recognize it and it just puts in something random. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for loving my channel. Oh, and I don't know if Tracy's on here. Tracy, I got the bags. Are you on here, Tracy? I got the bags. Thank you. Thank you so much for sending those. So I talked about in one of my videos, I couldn't find bags to fit my bread in, my 2-pound loaf of bread. And everybody was like, go buy sandwich bags, go buy the 2-gallon bags from Walmart. Well, I've looked because when I went to Virginia and visited my family, last time I was there, my sister had 2-gallon bags and I have not been able to find them since. I used up her last 2-gallon bags that she had. Thank you, Laura. And I don't know if she's been able to find the 2-gallon bags since either, but I got that package today from Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, for that. And now I have some large enough bags to fit my loaf of bread in. Hi, Michelle. No, I'm not a midwife. Um, always wanted to be one. I'm not a midwife, but I was a midwife's assistant. So somebody would go into labor, my midwife would call me, and I'd meet her at the person's house or at the birth center, and I assisted the midwife. I did everything but catch a baby and checks, exams, things like that. But I did all the other stuff. I knew how to do IVs, knew how to administer antibiotics if a mama needed antibiotics, all the stuff. And then I stayed with the mamas in their postpartum. And if they were at the birth center, we stayed with them for a certain amount of hours postpartum. The midwife would go home because she was a busy midwife and needed to go home and rest. And she had multiple birth assistants. So it was me and another gal at the end, her last year there. And we alternated who worked with her when, and then another person on occasion. So yeah, I got to work alongside my favorite midwife in the world. I had a bunch of really awesome, I say a bunch, I've had some great, great, great midwives. 2 amazing midwives. One is Shawn Walker, and she's world renowned because she is a breech birth specialist. And she was my midwife in England. She was an expat, so she grew up in America and moved to England and was a midwife on the NHS, but she was also a private midwife. And so we hired her, Erin and I hired her privately for our first baby, which ended up working out because she's a breech birth specialist. And she actually travels the world, goes to India and different countries, and teaches midwives and nurses how to deliver breech babies naturally without surgery. So there's definitely techniques out there. That's why I've never feared breech birth, but I have always had malpositioned babies up until the week or a few days before I went into labor. I would have babies breech, I'd have transverse babies, but thankfully they were all vertex when they were born. That means they were all head down by the time I was in labor. And it always happens for me very late. They just couldn't get comfortable. I've got kind of twisted, jacked up hips and things. So my babies just they weren't comfortable until I had enough relaxin in my system that all my tendons and ligaments relaxed enough and moved out of the way that the baby could be comfortable head down. That's my logic. I might be wrong about that, but it takes a certain amount of relaxin. That's why I'm not a huge fan of inductions, because I believe that a lot of inductions can fail based on a mother's body not being physically ready, not having enough relaxin hormone in her system to allow a baby to come out easily, as easily as a baby can come out. Let's be real. It's not easy. All right. You used to eat your lunch in the library because lunchtime was like something out of the Discovery Channel. The wheat got eaten. I'm gonna be honest, I was an awful child in middle school. I was a horrible child in middle school. I wouldn't say that I was a bully. I would just say that I acted out a lot. I was a troubled child. So I believe it. And I probably didn't help the friends I had in middle school. They all acted out and we were just bad. We were just those kids that needed a little bit more love and attention at home that we didn't get, so we acted out at school. And that's why my heart breaks when there's, especially in elementary school, when there's kids that are bullies and stuff. You know that they don't have it good at home more often than not. Oh, so sad. It's so sad. Given Grace 316, thank you for sharing your thoughts on cabin fever and how it affects your moods. You really were so transparent. Well, thank you, Angie. Yeah, today I went out. You can probably see, this might just be because I'm warm because I'm chatting so much. But today I went, picked our oldest up from chess club, and all 5 kids and me stayed at the school and we played on the playground, and I just sat out there in the sun and just took it in. And one time I was just like standing there and I had my hands out like this, and just so grateful for the sun. And I opened my eyes and my toddler was staring at me. He started giggling. He was giggling so hard at me because I loved it. I loved it. I was in a place where I could walk around safely. I wasn't gonna slip and fall because all around where I live here at my house, it's ice glacier. If we didn't remove the snow, it's turned into very slick ice, so it's not the safest place to go on walks right now. The road is very narrow because all of the snow is piled up on the sides of the road, and we have a bunch of crazy drivers around here, so I don't go walking down the road. People also have their dogs out, and when I was 42 or 41 weeks pregnant with my fourth child, I was on a walk by myself, and two dogs came after me, and that was terrifying. So I don't really walk by myself too much around here anymore. But cabin fever, yes, cabin fever. Just the winter. I just want to not be freezing cold, and I want the sunlight in the longer days, and I think everybody does. It just plus the time of year it is. I've experienced things in my life around this time of year that they just like hang over me like a dark cloud. And so when good things happen in March too, our baby turned 2. So let's focus on that. Our youngest baby turned 2 in March, so I try to focus on the good things in life. And I also am very mindful of my abilities, and I'm thankful that I get out of bed every day, and I'm grateful that I get to be alive. So, gratitude and finding joy in restful moments and being able to rest is a blessing. So, I don't spiral too down into depression, but I definitely can feel when I have a dark cloud over me, and I express that to my husband, my friends. I reach out to my friends if I need to. I also am sure to check in on my friends and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" If because a lot of times I can kind of sense and feel too when my friends are struggling, and so many of us especially with young children, trying to get out with them in this terrible icy weather can be challenging. And so a lot of times if you have younger children, you end up cooped up quite a bit because the toddlers, the babies, they can't get out there in the deep snow and on the ice. And it's kind of treacherous. So it's just been a long dark winter, and I'm ready for the sun, and I'm ready for warmth, and I'm ready for hikes and all that good stuff. I love in the wintertime snowboarding and all of the winter sports, but I can no longer do those things because of my back injury. Um, so I can't even ride in a bumpy golf cart, you guys, without being laid out for a week. Ask me how I know. I went and played a round of, I didn't play any golf, but I went with Aaron one time to the golf course, and he drives a golf cart. Let's not talk about how he drives a golf. Like, he's the only one in the golf cart. That's how he drives a golf cart. So I learned very quickly my limitations. My brother wanted to come out here and go snowboarding and do a big snowboarding trip with the kids, but I think if I went out on a mountain at this point, I'd, who knows, I might not make it back. So yeah, winter. I thrived in the wintertime, but since having small children, winters have been difficult for me to get through. And it's always like March time, right? That cloud will come around. Warmer days coming. You're in the North Carolina mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, but you came from sunny, let me get that back, sunny SoCal. And we're in a location where the sun shines like 364 days out of the year, supposedly. There's a lot of sunshine here to be had in the high desert of Southern Oregon on the edge of the Cascades. But yeah, the winters are still rough. We had, which about 7 years ago when we first moved into this house, what is it, every so many years you get El Nino and La Nina, and I think we might have hit that cycle because 7 years ago when we first moved into this house, we had the craziest winter, and we had so much snow, and we had ice blocks on our roof is like a giant glacier, and it's ripping our gutters off of our house. And it ruined our gutters 7 years ago. Not that we repaired them, we just kind of like bent them back up, right? So that same thing is happening again because we just have massive glaciers on our roof and the ice is just like pushing the gutters off. So yeah, it was time, and I predicted it. I was like, it's been about 6 or 7 years since our last bad winter. I think it's gonna be crazy, and it has been. We've just had so much precipitation, which we needed because we've been in a horrendous drought. All the lakes were so low, you guys, so low. Where'd the lakes go? It was like you walk 100 yards out where there used to be a shoreline, but you have to walk that far to get to the water, and it's like a mud puddle. So we are thankful and grateful. We have to. I just realized that my speaker's been on my desk the whole time, and this might have sounded funny. Um, and I also just realized that I can turn my tripod. So yeah, it's been a long winter, but we're thankful for all of the precipitation. Yes, it's drudgery with all this snow and ice still sticking around. It'll be here through May. We'll have an ice glacier in our backyard until probably June. It's always questionable if we're going to have a backyard party, spring party for Riker's birthday because of the ice. His birthday's in May. He was supposed to be an April baby, but all my babies come at 42, 43 weeks. Thank you. Thank you, Given Grace. Hi, Tanya. You were a great encouragement to me to home birth our 5th baby. Good job. Congratulations. Aw, he was born, a boy or girl, was born 2 weeks before our last baby. So you guys have a 2-year-old too. So much fun. Oh man, he's just like the joy and the light of our lives. All of our children are, but there's something about the baby and seeing your other babies with your baby, nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. The best thing we ever could have done was give our children siblings. And when we had our oldest, he was 7 months old when we found out we were pregnant with our second. And whoo, that was a shocker for me. We were in England and we had just moved into this house and I was struggling. First time mom, no support, like zero. I mean, I had my husband, which I'm very blessed for. But we didn't have anybody to call. We didn't have grandma. We didn't have anybody to learn from. We didn't have anybody to teach me how to do anything with a baby. My mom passed away when I was 20, so I didn't get to ask her all those important questions. I was just like drowning. and then it was like, oh, we're having another baby. I thought, how could I do this to my son? I'm ruining his life. I'm going to have to split my attention for this child that I love so much. How could I love anything more than this human being right here? What am I going to do? I'm ruining his life. Like, that's what I thought in my head. And then as I approached birth, I had like other really horrible thoughts, like, what if I die in giving birth? I had a complication with my placenta in that pregnancy. I was a mess. And I was like, that's it. I was like, God, I'm going to die and I'm going to leave my unborn baby and my son with no mother, like these horrible things. That's what I thought. And then gave birth, everything went fine. And when he met his baby sister, oh my gosh, he loved her. He was 17 months old and he loved her from the moment that he got his chubby little hands on her. He just loved her and it was like my heart exploded. And I realized in that moment that the best thing I could have ever done for my child was give him a sibling. And they've been awesome ever since. All of them really. But it's just crazy how when you're a first time mom, like jumping that hurdle into baby 2, because that was like the farthest thing from our minds back then, was having another baby. We thought, oh, maybe when he's 2 years old, we'll start thinking about another baby. But it was just, I was a naive first time mom. And Autumn, you asked me to share where was it? You wanted me to share my testimony for how I became a Christian. And I was born into a Christian family. Um, and I would say I fell away a little bit. I fell away a little bit from my faith about 4 years ago. I fell away for a couple years. I was just not in a good place mentally. I was abusing alcohol. I was caught up in the mommy wine culture and struggling with postpartum depression and struggling with so much. And when we got sober, November 23rd, 2021, we got sober and I returned to my faith. It just came full circle and I have been faithful ever since. So God is with me every day. Sometimes there's only, I like to say, sometimes there's only one set of footprints in the sand, right? Because he carries me through those hard times. And thank God that he's back in my life. Because we have had some struggles. And thank God that he is in my husband's life. Yeah. So blessed. When I am down, when I am really struggling, I turn on worship music and I will either bawl like a baby and cry my eyes out and sing along with it, but it always heals me. It always brings me back and it always snaps me out of whatever I am in. So if any of you guys need that kind of uplifting, it will bring you good worship music will bring you to your knees and bring you right back where you need to be. And it's my crutch. It's what gets me through. It's what helps me in my darkest times, especially in the last year and a half. So Aaron and I both struggle with PTSD, and we have both been battling for a year and a half now. Battling, staying sober, and coping with all of the things that come along with living through traumatic experiences. And being able to navigate some of the traumas and stay sober, and not like facing everything that we've been through. First of all, with a clear mind, something I never thought I would do. I never thought I would not drink at a party, at a birthday party, or not drink at the lake, or not drink at the hotel room, or not drink when the kids go to bed. Like, I never thought that I would be where I am now. And I've got this cup of tea every night. And it is tea. There's nothing else in here. It's tea. Has helped me have something to look forward to in the evenings, to relax and to stay away from alcohol, stay the heck away from that poison. No judgment here. I've had to convince myself and I've had to look at alcohol as poison. It was poison to my body, poison to my mind, poison to my marriage, poison to my children. And that is how I quit drinking alcohol. It was not good. I was not in a good place a year and a half ago. Still doing YouTube. You guys can probably watch some of those videos and be like, oh, she was on the sauce. Because I would drink glasses of wine, but I didn't show that on camera. But I would drink glasses of wine when I was cooking and things like that. Yeah, and I was probably a little bit more free-spirited, but it wasn't me. So, ashwagandha helps with stress. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes. Carol, I am glad too. I kind of went down the journey of, I got involved with like a group of women that were doing like card readings and things like that. And I kind of like started dipping my toes into that, but I was quickly whisked away from that. And glad that I was, because things like that can pull you under pretty quickly and take you away from your faith. And I was kind of getting into that mind trap of everything that goes along with cards and things. So yes. Yep, we all have a story. We all come from somewhere, right? We all have our struggles. So that's still a journey that we are on. We're still riding that sober train. Neither one of us, Erin nor I, we don't ever plan to ever touch alcohol again, because neither one of us can have just one beer. Neither one of us can have just one glass of wine. It's just not going to happen. The whole case of beer is going to be gone, or the whole bottle, all the wine in the house is going to be gone. That's just, we don't cope well with alcohol. Is not a good coping tool. Full transparency, I started drinking when I was 12, and I'm almost 40, and I've been sober for a year and a half. So that is the truth, you guys. If I can quit after everything that I've been through, if I can quit drinking cold turkey, it stopped that day. It stopped that day. It was full-blown drunk, stopped that day. Or that night I was drunk, but it stopped. That was it. And it was my coping. It was how I coped with the dark stuff. I had to drink because, like, I would drink at nights when everybody went to bed because I was no longer distracted, right? No longer distracted. I was left with my thoughts. I couldn't cope with my thoughts. Couldn't cope with all that stuff. So I turned to drinking to make it all easier. And it didn't make it easier. It made it all 1,000 times worse for me. It made it worse. It was ruining my life. It was ruining my marriage. And I didn't know it at the time. It was like, oh, everything is great. Oh, we'll drink together. Oh, this and that. But it was crumbling us. And in retrospect, I can say that now. And at the time, so 2 years ago, I would have been like, what's wrong with drinking? Why don't you drink? And people would be like, oh, no, thank you, I don't drink. And in my head, I'm like, why don't they drink? What's wrong with drinking? Everybody drinks. And to me, because that was the culture I grew up in, my mom drank, my brothers all drank, my friends all drank, everybody drank. If it was somebody's birthday party, there was drinking. If somebody got married, there was drinking. If there was anything, if it was, we're going to the lake, everything was around that. And it was like any reason to drink was a reason to drink. And now I have the complete opposite. I'm like, why do people do this to themselves? I know why. I did it to myself. I was hurting myself, but now I just want so badly for the people that struggle with alcoholism. I want so badly for them to quit. I want so badly for them to quit. Nothing I want more, because I want people to know that there's beauty in sobriety and that life can be hopeful. Life can be truly joyful in sobriety. There is hope, there is joy in sober living. I found it, and I'm so grateful. I also realized that Erin and I, we joke, we're like, we got sober and everything hurts more now. Like, everything hurts more. And we were just masking so much. And in the military, it is part of the culture. Everybody drinks to cope. Everybody works their butts off and goes home and drinks. It's just rampant. And it's really sad. So if I can be a source of light by being honest, or encouragement, or if somebody out there is struggling and they want to quit drinking, it's possible. It can be done. I wouldn't say, so I've known people to say, well, I didn't wake up and start the bottle as soon as I rolled out of bed. I always wait till 12. Like, I've had people say, well, I wait until at least noon before I start drinking, so I don't have a problem. And that is, couldn't be farther from the truth. If you're having to convince yourself that you don't have a problem because you stay within these guidelines, if you have guidelines, then it's probably a problem. And I was one of those people, well, I don't start drinking until 5 p.m. or whatever my reasonings were. But if I was on vacation, if I was at the river, if I was wherever, I'd start drinking at 11. if I didn't have any like thing really going on. I mean, it's just like awful when I look back. And I didn't drink when I was pregnant. So I wasn't like, you know, there was no like fetal alcohol poisoning or anything like that. I wasn't drinking when I was pregnant. So let's just get that straight. I was drinking, it always crept back in postpartum. So I would be like a couple weeks postpartum and I'd have like a beer here and there, but a beer here and there would turn into more than that down the road. It just like would always creep back in because I would think, oh great, I've been sober through pregnancy, I'm gonna stay sober, I'm not gonna start drinking again. But it always just crept its way back in because I never set those boundaries. But I had to set those boundaries, and I had to say, not a single drink, not one, no alcohol in the house, nothing. I have tinctures, but I'm not like chugging down herbal tinctures, but I do make herbal tinctures. So to say that I'm alcohol free, no, I do use tinctures, but I'm not overindulging in anything. Yeah, given grace 3:16, waiting until noon. Yeah, the whole, I mean, it's crazy that we do that, right? Like, oh, it's 12 o'clock. I made it to lunchtime. Oh, can't start drinking until 5 o'clock. Yeah. But if anybody needs encouragement, I know I pray every day for people in my life to get sober that I love so much. Sometimes it's just, we can't make that for decision. We can't make that choice for anybody. And if you know somebody that you want to get sober, it is not on you. You can't love somebody sober. They will not get sober until they are ready to. And that is 1000%. I could tell myself a million times that I mean, it took me committing to it. There was nobody that could have loved me sober. And I can't love anybody sober. I couldn't have made my husband get sober, you know, a month prior to when we decided to get sober. A month prior, I could not have convinced him to get himself sober, much less myself, until we were both ready. And so I'm grateful that we're both on this journey together. And now we can look back and we can say, oh, it's been, I couldn't even tell you days, weeks, months, all that stuff. I can tell you the day we got sober, and then it's been almost a year and a half, and that we don't want to sabotage that. We don't want to sabotage the streak that we're on. And so when I made it like a month, it was like, well, I've gone a month without it. I don't want to sabotage that. And so I would take it one day at a time, one moment at a time, and that's how we got through. And I probably talk about this every single live, and I might talk about it every single live because there is hope in sobriety, there is joy in sobriety, and I will always talk about that. And I will always say, no judgment, I'll love you through it. Yes, Kathy, we are doing well as far as that goes. Hi. Did you want to come say hi? I gotta hide you because you're in just a diaper. Gotta hide them, so got a diaper baby running around. Is it night time? Okay, you gonna lay down on the floor right there? Night. All right, y'all, that's my cue. 107 minutes. It's about average, isn't it? Anything else anybody wants to say? Last minutes. Thank you, Kathy. What made us just decide, okay, Pamela, I can answer that. Hold on. Bad habits are hard to keep. Broken every day is a choice. Yep, every day is a choice. You have to choose sobriety every day. There was a long time where I had to choose to walk out of the grocery store without alcohol in my basket. I had to choose to make the whole drive home without stopping at the gas station to buy a pack of beer or a bottle of wine or whatever. I had to get myself all the way home and into my house. And I had to not ask Aaron to go to the store, and he had to prevent himself from running down to the gas station and buying anything. It is a choice every step of the way. We had to make that choice. I had to make that choice every step of the way. It was a choice. And it's not an easy choice, especially in the beginning. But once you get this far down the road, it's like, wow, I can't believe I did that for so long. I did that to my body. I did that to my mind. I did that to my brain. I did that to my family. All right, there was one question on here. Yeah, see, some people can have alcohol in their house and they can have the occasional beer and that kind of stuff, but many people with a history of trauma and different things really are going to struggle to have that. Watch out. But yeah, the tinctures, I haven't bought a bottle of alcohol to make tinctures since I got sober, but the tinctures I do have are from previous to my sobriety. Not that I would buy a bottle of vodka and drink it, I wouldn't, but I just haven't gone into a liquor store. I just haven't gone to that section of the gas station, because here in Oregon they sell liquor at gas stations. I just don't put myself around the temptation, because I gotta hide him because he's just in a diaper. I just haven't even gone anywhere. And I might have shared with you guys, when Aaron was in the hospital, I drove home and I was like, oh, I have 2 bottles of wine at home in my end of days stash. And I immediately had a friend come over and get those bottles of wine, take them from me. I was like, can you please come take these bottles of wine? I'm really stressed and I really feel like I want to drink them all. And she came and took the wine out of my house. So tinctures are when you take herbs and you mix them with alcohol and you make like a medicinal remedy. So I have like a brandy, elderberry, mullein elixir that we use for cough syrup. And then I have like elderberry and echinacea tinctures, and they're just little amber bottles of alcohol infused with herbs, basically. So you put the herbs into your alcohol and you let them sit in there for 6 weeks or longer, and then you strain out the herbs, and then you have your tincture, which has the medicinal properties remaining in the alcohol, and you only take a couple of drops. So you will take anywhere from like 2 to 30 drops of a tincture. And I'm talking like out of a little dropper. So it's a very small amount, and you mix it in water. And if you're new to tinctures, definitely don't take like a full dropper full, because you can make yourself very sick, because it's super concentrated medicine, basically. So like the elderberry mullein elixir that I made with honey and brandy, that tastes like Robitussin, honestly. So basically like just cough syrup. And that's not something that I would want to go in there and chug, because it would make me very, very, very sick. So I'm not at like risk of drinking tinctures or drinking mouthwash. I'm not that alcoholic. I just can't have alcohol in the house, or I'll drink it all. When I got to that point after Bodhi was born. So it took me a while to get to that point. What made me decide to get sober? Oh, is that the question, Allison? Was that the one that I'm answering? What made me decide to get sober? Well, I was drinking wine, and then Aaron was like, I think you've had enough wine. And I was like, you don't tell me when I've had enough, okay? And so he like went to bed or went and worked out. I don't know what he did. He went and we were supposed to have stopped drinking wine. And I went ahead and continued drinking wine. And he walked out and he saw me drinking more wine, and he busted me. And then it was like a whole big thing. And then from that, it was a whole big thing. Okay, it was a big thing. And I said, all right, I need to stop, because obviously this is a problem. This is a problem if I'm trying to hide it. And this is a problem if I'm lying to you about it. And so that was it. We had like a coming to Jesus talk, and we got sober. And it was because I got busted for continuing to drink after I said I would quit drinking that night, basically. And it was both of us recognizing that, wow, we have a problem at the same time. And in order for me to quit drinking, Aaron was going to have to quit drinking, because he was very much aware that I wasn't going to quit drinking if he was bringing alcohol in the house, and he wasn't going to quit drinking if I kept bringing alcohol into the house. So we had to stop if we wanted our marriage to continue, and if we wanted to continue to grow together and grow our family and to be a good family unit, we had to get sober. It was just one of those moments where it's like, wow, we let it get this far. And it was a lot of stress. He was under a whole lot of stress with the mandates. in his military career. It was right around mandate season, if you guys are familiar with all of that. And leading up to the mandate was like bottles of hard liquor and things like that coming into the house. And while I was still drinking primarily like beer and wine, there was definitely harder stuff coming in the house due to stress. And that's not a way to cope with stress, but in the military, how you cope with stress is take a shot, take another shot, take a shot. So that was happening multiple nights a week where there was hard liquor in the house, and it was like going downhill fast. It went from, like, I would say in a 6-month period, it went from like being able to have a glass of wine to Aaron having full-blown fatty liver disease and us not being able to just drink a glass of wine or just a bottle of wine or just a beer or 2 beers or a 6-pack. It was, oh no, there's only a 6-pack. We need to go to the store and get more beer. Like, and get a bottle of liquor while you're there because it's been a hard day, right? Let's do some Fireball. And it just wasn't healthy. And I think with the fatty liver disease diagnosis and me hiding how much I was drinking at night, because like everybody would go to bed and I would stay up late cleaning the house like till 2 o'clock in the morning drinking by myself. And then I would be super hungover in the mornings or still intoxicated. So it was not healthy. And we just had to hit our rock bottom, and rock bottom looks different for everybody. For us, it was me getting busted drinking wine in the laundry room. Wasn't supposed to tap into that bottle. And I laugh about it, but it was ridiculous. I mean, it was just like a ridiculous place we had gotten to, and it wasn't the people that we wanted to be. And I won't go back. I won't go back to that. It shortens your life. It affects your brain. It kills your brain cells. It's poison. The whole 1 glass of wine is healthy for you is a lie. Don't believe it. It's a lie. Now, if we were back in Jesus' times, then we would need to turn water into wine and ferment everything to have something safe to drink, right? But we're not in those times, so we don't need to be drinking wine. All right, y'all. Yes, it's awesome we can do it together. I know that it doesn't work out that way for everybody, and everybody's on their own journey. I'm thankful. I am beyond thankful that we were able to do it together, because I don't think that either one of us could have done it alone. We couldn't have done it alone. We couldn't have done it alone because we would have just given in to the other person. We're like, oh, okay, well, if you're going to have a beer, I'm going to have a beer. Yeah. Yeah, I think the wine was probably different back then too. Life is hard, and being intoxicated makes it all the harder. That is true. That is true. But when you're in it, you don't think that. You think that the alcohol is your friend, and you think that alcohol is making it easier. That is what you tell yourself, and that is what, as an alcoholic, we believe that the alcohol is improving our life. The alcohol is making us outgoing. It's making us want to be social. It's making us be able to cope. That's what we think. Those are the things we tell ourselves. It does. Alcohol whispers those evil little lies. But again, I'm not judging anybody or anything. I know that my path was what it was, and I was ashamed and embarrassed, and it's not like I would have gotten on here and been like, hey guys, I'm drinking wine. Like I never would have done that because I was ashamed. I never wanted to participate in mommy wine culture. I never wanted to ever encourage anybody to do what I was doing. So I didn't share about it openly. I was never that person. But I also used that as a driving force, like, oh, well, other moms are drinking wine after their hard day, so it's okay if I do. So that was, and now I want to lift moms up, and I want them to know that they don't have to cope with alcohol at the end of the day. But if that's what they're doing right now to get over the hump, no judgment. If they want to get sober, I have lots of messages and lots of people I talk to privately on Instagram and things like that, as a source of support, but I am not an AA person. I don't have the tools and the resources to help another person get sober, but I can be a support and say, hey, this was my story. This is where I come from. And if you can get through today, then you can also, there's hope that you can get through tomorrow too. At the end of the day, we need to be able to look ourselves in the mirror. Good night. Good night, Given Grace 316. Thank you for sharing a bit of you tonight and sharing some of your little bit of your experience with us here. Yeah. Yeah, we had a bunch of alcoholics in my family, or have some alcoholics in my family. My pappy was alcoholic. My mom struggled. She struggled big time. So she didn't live very long. So there's my motivation too. My mom didn't live a long, healthy life with alcohol in her life and with drugs in her life. And I want better for me and my family. Yeah, the craving wine. And you know what? Now I no longer have cravings anymore. Now I get like queasy, nauseous if I think about drinking, or if I try to put myself in that mindset, like, how would I feel if I had a glass of wine? And I'm like, it would taste like crap. It would taste terrible. And that's the kind of frame of mind that I've put myself into now, where I know. And I went through a year after I got sober, where I would wake up some mornings and feel hungover. There were a lot of mornings I would wake up with like fog, and now I know it's my autoimmune diseases and stuff. And it was probably still coming off alcohol, but I would wake up with like a headache and like in a fog. And I would wake up and I'd be like, Erin, why do I feel like I'm hungover? I just feel so hungover. I feel awful. I feel awful. And maybe it was just my body remembering what it was like waking up most days of the week like that. But I definitely was like, wow, I used to live like this and live with this hangover every single day. And it was horrible, horrible. Good night, Patty. Thank you for hanging out. God bless you. All right, you guys, I really do need to go. Break the cycle. Francis, thank you. Good night, Francis. Yes, I have to get up before the kids to have my quiet time and coffee too. Now my body wakes up at 5 a.m. every morning. I'm just boop, ready to go. I lay in bed though, and enjoy the quiet before I get up. So I need to start getting out of bed, but I don't want to wake up. I still have toddlers and stuff that room share with us, so I don't want to disturb anybody and wake them up. So I lay in bed, usually until it's safe, until I feel like they're deep enough sleep in their sleep cycle to where I can get out of the room. But yes, love my quiet time in the morning. Love, love, love waking up early. I used to struggle with that, but getting sober, that was another thing about that, is I'm falling asleep earlier at night and waking up earlier in the morning because I'm no longer chasing that buzz all night long. So now I have more purpose and I can fall asleep at 9 o'clock, no problem, with my sleepy time tea, and wake up bright and early, ready to serve my family, ready to start the day. And I am thankful, and I thank God every day for that, and for the clarity, and for the wherewithal to get sober. You know what? It is Caffeinated Engineer. Erin and I used to wear a Whoop that managed, or that told me like all of my stats and stuff. And that was one thing that we really noticed. And I quit wearing it after I had baby number 5. I didn't want to pay the monthly payment for it anymore, but I mostly wore it through baby 5 because I wanted to see if it registered that I was doing an activity when I was in labor, and it didn't. What's up with that Whoop? And I wrote the company and I was like, hey, I want to make sure that you guys have like labor in your activities for this, for future women who are athletes and want to know their performance, especially in labor. So I was really disappointed that it didn't register that I was in labor or having like a very difficult activity. So I quit wearing it, but Aaron wears it, and He doesn't have restful sleep still because he's got sleep apnea and all this other kind of stuff, but he wears the Whoop, and we're able to go back and look at those, like those 6 months, whatever, leading up to the mandate, how much drinking was going on because he was always in the red. There's like zero recovery when you drink alcohol. Your body recovers like maybe 12%. You're supposed to be recovering 100% when you sleep at night. You're supposed to be getting enough rest that you are 90 to 100% recovered. But when you drink alcohol, it doesn't matter how hard you sleep, how passed out you are, your body does not recover. Your body spends the whole entire night processing the alcohol, the whole night. So your body does not rest because it's metabolizing alcohol the whole night. So you'd be better off eating like a 4-course meal before bed and going to sleep, and you'd get more rest than if you were to drink like 2 glasses of wine before bed. Your body's going to spend all night processing that, and it's not going to put you into that restful, rejuvenating, recovered state. So that was really interesting to learn. And if you guys want to know more about Whoop, I think I would love to have Aaron on here one night and talk about that, because he has really been able to monitor his health with his Whoop strap, like really, 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 really well. He can tell when food affects him, his performance and his recovery. When he strays from his diet, it will put him in the red. When he's starting to get sick, it will put him in the red, all that kind of stuff. So it's a great tool for learning what certain things are doing to your body and how to increase your performance and how to optimize your rest and your recovery. So yeah, lots of awesome information. We both, he was an athlete, I was an athlete, and we both have that background to, we were wild athletes. Now we'd, play the game, win the race, or run the race or whatever, and then go celebrate. So we weren't doing anything good for our recovery back in those days. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. All right, you guys, I'm gonna get off here, but I had fun. Labor is a competitive sport. There could be leaderboards for it. That's so funny. I think Whoop is actually doing something now, because I wrote to them, and I wasn't the only mom, because there's tons of CrossFitters and stuff that use the Whoop straps, but other CrossFit and athletic moms were writing to them too and saying, hey, like, this thing isn't saying that anything, it's not registering that we're doing this hard work of labor, but it doesn't do that. So anyways, we're gonna hop off here, and I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody. Good night, good night. I think I answered all the questions, and I will see you guys next live Monday. And we'll talk about the cleaning routine that I'm going to start, because I think I need help with that. So we're gonna dive in next week to the cleaning method and all of that stuff that I am wanting to do. Oh my God, getting off of here. There is somebody bad on here. All right, you guys, good night.